Hi there, it's Martin Ward from Robson Laidler. I'm again joined this week by Jack Spoor from our Business Accelerator team. Hi Jack, how you doing?
Yeah, good, thanks. Nice to be back, Martin. Nice to be back.
Good. That enthusiasm's good. We should bottle that. So yeah, we thought we'd just give you an update on what's been happening this week in the Robson Laidler office and what's going on. And I thought I'd just start today with a little, I suppose, like a thought process that we should go through when we're trying to make big decisions. So one of our clients said, we are looking at buying out a competitor. Can you help us with that? So of course, there's all of the normal technical things like the due diligence, making sure that the figures stack up and all that kind of thing. But what I suggested we need to do first was make sure that actually it fitted in with their plans. So it then transpired that there wasn't a coherent plan for the business. And we decided that the first thing we should do is actually come up with a plan. So we've actually done a session today where we've identified all the things that are working well, the things that could work better within the business, helped them to identify the key issues they need to work on. And they've actually gone away today with a 90-day plan with a list of, specific actionable points allocated to people with deadlines, which by their own admission, because they came up with them, if they solve those things, that will make their business far stronger. And the idea is that we're going to do this with them possibly on a monthly or quarterly basis going forward. And it just gives them that accountability and the clear vision. What was interesting in this case is that nowhere on there was one of their biggest issues that needed to be solved, growth. So that then begs the question whether buying or versus organic growth should even be on the table. But we are still going to do a separate decision-making exercise on that. So I suppose the takeaway there is just make sure that you actually have a goal, that you're measuring your progress towards it. So then anything you do, you can see whether it's going to get you towards that goal quicker. I thought it was just worth a mention. And on a similar kind of topic, strategy and how to run businesses better. Here's Jack with his topic.
Martin, yeah, that was really interesting. Following up from that, I also wanted to talk about one of my coaching sessions that I had yesterday, which was kind of a follow-on. So we've already done the one-page plan, as Martin had talked about, and there we were holding our first full-on monthly coaching session. And it was quite interesting because in our original one-page plan meeting, we were talking about the 10 departments. We've also done some really good webinars on that, and I'd highly recommend you checking those ones out if you've got time. So we were talking about the 10 departments and how every business has the same 10 departments regardless of the size. And ultimately, if you're a smaller business, it just means that the business owner holds or wears more of those hats. So we were talking about that and how we could possibly pass those hats on to other individuals in the business. As it transpires, as it's such a small team, there's very little scope to outsource that out or to pass on responsibility to other individuals in the business. So then the next logical step was then to kind of look at how these individuals were managing their time whilst they were at work, basically. And that kind of got us onto this really good tool called the 7 Wastes. The 7 Wastes is essentially an idea that stemmed out of Toyota of all places. And it basically talks about 7 areas within the manufacturing process that generally that waste is made. Sort of the idea of overproduction, over-engineering, the movement of materials, the movement of people. And this theory has kind of been built on and expanded, not just to be working within the manufacturing sphere, but also in all businesses and in how people manage their time. So it was a really interesting exercise that we went through. We found maybe 3 or 4 hours a week's worth of stuff of hours that they could be saving time on just processes that they do which aren't particularly efficient. So yeah, it was a really good session. Really enjoyed it. The client got some good value out of it, and hopefully it'll be the first of many good coaching sessions to come. The other thing I wanted to talk about, Martin, and I know it's a big bugbear of mine, and I'm sure it's probably a bugbear of yours, is spreadsheets.
Yeah.
Specifically, errors within spreadsheets, and that seems to be quite hot in the news at the moment. Obviously, with the Public Health England cock-up, I would say. Maybe
oversight, Jack. We'll call it an oversight.
Yes, oversight. It's a more very political term there, Martin. Yeah, and obviously that had a significant impact with some of the figures being missed off the bottom of the spreadsheet. That may not be translatable to you as a business owner who uses a spreadsheet because there's no financial data to that. But there have been examples throughout the years where big companies have made significant accounting errors because of their spreadsheets. And I mean, I've got one just off the top of my head. I remember JP Morgan was about $6 billion worth of their missed revenue or expenditure, purely because of copy and paste errors in their formulas, and also the fact that they were just rushing to get their figures through. So it kind of begs the question: if we scale it down to the SME market, is that if you're a business owner and you haven't got time to do your books and records properly, or you're using spreadsheets, then is it possibly the opportunity now to have this discussion about getting someone who isn't using spreadsheets, who's using proper bits of accounting software, which aren't going to make these errors, and getting someone who actually takes the time and effort to, make sure they dot all the I's and cross the T's. So if there's anyone out there who's possibly thinking who's on the fence about that, we're more than happy to talk about getting you onto a nice bit of accounting software where you're not going to make these lovely spreadsheet errors.
Yeah, no, good point, and very topical, as you say, Jack. And actually, I think there's a connection between your wastes and trying to come up with an action plan and get things done, and whether you've got time to do these things properly, which actually was I think the JP Morgan example. Time pressure makes people do crazy things. So it's quite interesting. You mentioned there's someone who's got a plan, but they're too busy. So you've looked at wastes. Part of that waste exercise, I suppose, could be, it is a job that needs to be done and it needs to be done efficiently, but you still haven't got time to do it. So part of the exercise is then to look at outsourcing or delegation. If you haven't got people within the team to delegate to, look outside of your team, and you might delegate your bookkeeping, you might delegate, I don't know, your cost reduction processes or your marketing. There's all kinds of things that people delegate every day outside of an organization. And often people think the finance is one that shouldn't be, but it can work very well. So yeah, great points there, Jack. And I'll just mention one other thing. So I opened with the business purchase, and I'll close with a possible sale. So separately, we've had chats with a client who said that he'd been approached by an investor down south who was basically looking to buy part of his property portfolio. So we had a brief discussion about, various things. This is by any measure, a middle-aged person whose total income comes from property. He's been offered something like, probably a good 10-15% over market value for these properties, using what he knows to be local knowledge on what you should expect for them. And of course, it's basically by his own admission, it's kept him awake all night whether he should accept this offer. So he's spent since 2 o'clock this morning trying to basically come up with, what to do on this. I spoke to him probably within the last hour, and within about 5 minutes, we'd arrived at pretty much where he spent most of his living day trying to get to. And quite quickly, he can distill these things into, what are the costs? So he's got to pay the mortgages off. He's got redemption charges on those mortgages. So it's not just his loan balance, it's loan balance plus redemption. Obviously, he'll have costs of the sale. We worked out those pretty quickly, but also he's got capital gains tax. Now, out of the offer, he was still going to walk away with a decent amount of cash. But then I said, so what will you do with this cash? And of course, he's a property guy, so his immediate answer is, well, I'll probably buy some property. So, unless there's something wrong with the assets he's getting rid of, why would he take a capital gains hit, redemption charges, and the hassle and the stress to then just try and buy more property? So we've had that chat, and he's kind of agreed, no, not the right time. So where we've arrived at with this person is it's probably too early. He's going to pay down his mortgages for the next 5-10 years. And then when he sells, he keeps more of the money.